Welcome to the Equinety Podcast, where horse owners just like you share their incredible Equinety stories and how Equinety is changing their horses' lives. Whether you're searching for something to give your performance horse better focus, faster recovery, and more stamina, or in the extreme case where all hope seems lost, give your horse what it needs to help heal at a cellular level, you'll find it here. So jump in on today's episode to hear how Equinety is helping horses worldwide. Now, welcome your host, John Dowdy.
Hello and welcome to this week's Equinety Podcast. We are swinging up into Northeast Indiana. We've got Jessica Lash on the call this week. Jessica, welcome to the Equinety Podcast.
Hi, thank you so much for having me. I'm really happy to get a chance to share our story with Equinety.
Well, and I appreciate it. You had actually sent over kind of a little bit of a testimonial on how this product has been helping. Now, and of course, you sent pictures, and I'm like, oh, okay, that's it. We've got to have you on this on this podcast to share this story. So you and your daughter are in the barrel racing world. So we're going to talk about performance horses this week. So let's get into how long have you guys been doing that together? And let's start there. So basically PreEquinity we'll talk about.
Okay, so I've been barrel racing my whole life. I'm 36 now. My daughter's been barrel racing her whole life. I really felt like we were pretty knowledgeable about what our horses needed nutritionally. We had a colic episode in early May and then a colic episode in a different horse in mid-May. At that time, Danielle Bowser, who's a fellow barrel racer, she reached out to me. I'm so grateful. She said, hey, just so you know, we took our horses off of all of our grain. This is the diet we feed. Equinety was a part of that. She said, I really think that you should try it. So I was very skeptical. Being a barrel racer and a performance horse person, I really thought my horses needed to have the grain. They needed the carbs. They needed the energy. I thought that they probably wouldn't perform as well. I definitely thought that they were going to lose weight. We have some big horses, some off-the-track horses. They're not necessarily hard keepers, but they do have requirements. And so but I thought, Danielle and Kelly have a lot of success in the barrel racing industry. If their horses are performing without grain on this diet, I really wanted to give it a try. So that very day, we went ahead and started transitioning to her diet recommendations. I got on and ordered Equinety. I have not looked back.
Wow. Okay. So, and we'll get into how things are going now since you've been using the Equinety. But, I think everybody's worst nightmare is to have a horse that colics. Tell us about that experience and what happened. How severe was it? Tell us about that whole experience.
Yeah, terrifying in a word. The first horse that colic was my young horse. His was not as severe as my daughter's horse. He had an impaction. So our mid-May colic was my daughter's horse. That was the one that really was a reality check. He had to be hospitalized. He spent a couple days in the hospital. We were talking about surgery. The cost of surgery was going to be $8,000 to $10,000. Of course, there's no guarantee in success. My husband and I were sitting at home at 3 a.m, waiting on the vet's call, trying to decide which way this was going to go. Of course, I already knew I was writing the check to pay for the colic surgery. He might not have known. But yeah. I knew that's the direction we were heading. And thankfully, it did not come to that. But it was the reality check that we needed. Like I mentioned, I've never been a fan of the high-grain diet. So that let me know we needed to find something else that was going to work for our horses. And we have not had any issues since we switched.
Yeah, like you kind of mentioned, I would imagine it was a bit of, a complete mind shift where you've been feeding a certain program for X amount of years, and now all of a sudden do a complete diet change with something that you thought was the right thing to be giving in the first place.
Yeah, it's a scary ledge to step off of, especially when you're in the middle of performance season, which we were. We're asking them to be at the top of their game weekend after weekend, and we really didn't know what to expect. So, yeah, I think we were kind of stepping blind. Had Danielle not reached out, I probably would have stayed where it was comfortable, and I'm so glad I didn't.
Right. Now, what is your typical season during when you're barrel racing, you and your daughter?
Yeah, so we try to be on the road by late March. Of course, we're in Indiana, so that is a little bit weather permitting depending on how rough the winter is. But we'll go March through November typically. we'll be on the road every weekend. A lot of those are 3-day shows. Occasionally we'll pick up a 1-day show, but when we go, we try to go for the weekends. We typically haul Indiana, Ohio, Michigan. That's usually where we're at.
Mm-hmm. Yep. Now, when did you start using the Equinety? Now, in this podcast, we're specifically talking about Equinety Horse Excel. You have not tried the Ultimate OC, which I think after we spoke a little bit earlier, I think that'll be a nice addition, and we'll kind of get into how all that helps. But when did you start using the Equinety Horse Excel?
So I believe it was May 18th that my daughter's horse was hospitalized, and that's the day that Danielle reached out, and that is the day I ordered it. So it took probably several days to get here. We started everybody on it right away. I've got 4 performance horses on it.
Okay. So with your experience in the performance horse world, what was it like, or, prior to the Equinety product, what was it like when you're hauling horses? For those who may not know, do they all require different diets? Do they require different supplements? Are they, some of them stressed, some of them not? Tell us about what that experience is like when you're hauling multiple horses all over the place.
Well, I wanted to pull my hair out.
Okay, that sums it up.
Yeah. I'm trying to think what our hauling friends called my trailer. They called it something along the line of like the witch's lab or something like that. I don't think that was it, but it was something like that. And that was just to say I had so much in there because we were trying to meet each horse's needs. And so we were packing different things for different horses, 4 horses on the trailer times all of those different things. It got complicated. So we've really simplified all the horses, no matter the life stage or the competition level. Right now, they're all on the same diet. They're all on Equinety. It's so nice because I have 2 totes that their feed goes in and my Equinety, and then they take one other thing for their joints, and that's it. Everybody's on that. And so the packing is fantastic. It actually all fits in one little manger underneath the window in my trailer. So
wow. What do you do with all your free time?
I don't know. I have filled it.
Yes, it gets sucked up somewhere else. Now, how long have you and your daughter been traveling together?
Since my daughter was about 18 months old. We've been on the road since then, really. She loves to barrel race. She eats, sleeps, breathes barrel racing. She wants to be a professional barrel racer. And of course, I tell her I think absolutely she can. You work hard enough. So that's her goal right now.
And how old is she?
She's 9.
9. So there's no competition between the two of you, I'm sure.
There shouldn't be, but there is.
Yeah.
Yeah. No, she has really stepped it up. She runs 2 horses. So last weekend we were at the Big Money Show in Shipshewana, Indiana. It's a nice show. It draws a lot of nice horses in. So Sunday I ran a 15.3. She ran a 15.5. So that's how close that gap is getting. And I've got no doubt she'll be overtaking me soon. And I always joke it's the handicap factor. You know how they handicap race horses and, the weight matters. Well, she's 60 pounds and I'm 145 pounds, but I don't think that's it. So.
Yes. Yeah. Now, last year, what was her mindset trying to beat mom versus this year? Has anything changed?
Well, I mean, she's always thought she can beat me, but last year, about partway through the season, probably halfway, she said, I'm going to outrun you this year. And I said, I hope you do, but I hope it's because you're super fast and not because I'm super slow. So she said, I'm not super slow. So, but she has really stepped it up. I mean, she comes in the arena to win, and I like that a lot about her. She's a perfectionist. She tries super hard, and you can see that in her riding and in her results.
Yeah. So what are some of the things that she's won recently or this year? I mean, this year with the COVID things, I'm sure you're not out as much as you normally would be, but how's her year going so far, and yours?
Well, my year is a little slower. I'm seasoning a young horse. He's coming along real nice. I have appreciated, I do feel like the Equinety is helping with the stress of hauling. He's this first year on the road. He's handling that great. He's eating great on the road. His weight is great. His focus is great. The show we just went to last weekend, it's in a Coliseum. It was his first time to run with banners all around the wall. It was his first time to run, down a chute, not out of a catch pen, a lot of firsts. He just went right to work for me. He actually ended up finishing 2 spots out of winning the 3D average, which to me on a young horse that's only been on the trailer for about 8-10 weeks, that's great.
Yes.
That kind of consistency. So I was super happy with that. my daughter she's another story this year. We did get a late start, but she's checked a lot of things, a lot of her goals off the list this year. And these have all been met after starting our horses on Equinety. So that's definitely worth mentioning.
Interesting. I like that.
Yeah.
Has nothing to do with the horses or the rider. It's just the product.
Well, I won't say that, but the product helps.
Right.
I have no doubt the product helps.
Okay.
They have never looked or performed better. So definitely we're so grateful for that. But
yeah,
she picked up the Quinity buckle at the Sharon Camarillo Fun and Fast Times show. She won a 40 trophy halter in the Young Guns at the Shaley Memorial, the Barrels and Bling show in Cloverdale. She qualified for Best of the Best this year. We ended up not going. It just didn't work out with our schedule this year, but she did qualify. She just took reserve in the 1D average at the Big Money show and also ended up winning the Quinity buckle on her other horse at the Big Money show. So she's just had a phenomenal year.
That's great. Now, for those tuning in for the first time, maybe you've been seeing this Equinety product on your news feed. We do a lot of advertising in Facebook. Of course, we're on do some stuff on Ride TV and RFD TV, as well as a Team Roping Journal. We're doing some stuff in there recently. But the Equinety Horse Excel, which is what we've been on the market with for a little over 5.5 years, is 100% pure amino acids. There's no fillers, no sugars, no starches, and there's no loading dose. By the way, when you first saw the little dose size, what were your thoughts? Because it's 5.2 grams, which is like a teaspoon. Did you think that was...
Yeah.
What was your thoughts when you saw that?
Well, probably my first thought was, this is great because this is going to be affordable. Which it is.
Yeah.
You know, it is very affordable.
$1 a day, yes.
It's fantastic because it's going to be easy to pack in my trailer, was the thought. You know, like we mentioned earlier, like we talked about, I was absolutely skeptical, not only of the diet, but also of this product. There's so much out there. You know, there's a push for any product you can think of. And so I didn't know what the results would be, but I'm definitely sold on it now.
Yeah, well, you know, what's really interesting about the product, one of the many things, and you kind of just touched on it, because this product really doesn't fall into a joint supplement, a hoof supplement, a gut supplement, a muscle building supplement, a calmer, a shiny coat supplement, you know, less stress supplement. It doesn't fall into any of those categories. What it's actually doing is the amino acids are specifically formulated to stimulate the pituitary gland, which is the master gland in the body. And that's what releases the necessary hormones, which then the body sends to those problem areas for repair. And so in essence, it's customizing to each horse because we're allowing the body to help repair itself. And so that's why it helps in so many different ways. And in this case, you know, you're coming back from some colic scares. And a lot of people in the performance world use it as a preventative. You know, they use it as a recovery type of a product, but it really helps in all of these areas. And that's one of the reasons why we started the podcast, to capture these stories. And there's everything that you can imagine. So if you're dealing with, you know, whatever issue with your horse, make sure you go to teamequinety.com and check out the podcast section. And there's a search function, so you can search for navicular or arthritis or performance horses. I mean, whatever you want, just type it in there and it'll pull up all the ones that have to deal with those situations. We recently came out with, earlier this year, a new product, a secondary product that works in combination with the amino acids, and it's called Quinity Ultimate OC. And what that product is, it's a flaxseed-based omega-3 with 1,000 international units of natural vitamin E and colloidal silver all in one. It's a half gallon because there's no fillers in it. And again, there's no loading dose with this either. But this product serves two functions. One, working in combination with the amino acids, it's helping to give those repaired cells some nutrition to help them operate at optimal levels. And secondary, it acts as a very powerful antioxidant, which helps reduce the inflammation. So what we're finding is that people that are using both of these together are just having phenomenal results. And even with you, Jessica, you haven't used the Ultimate OEC yet, which you're going to be picking some of that up. But just the results that you've had from the amino acids alone is pretty astonishing. And we hear these stories all the time. And I think it would be a good comparison at this point. I mean, you've been racing for a lot of years without Equinety. How would you say the horses are doing if you compare since you've been using it this year from May, which at the time of this recording is like 6 months, 7 months, somewhere in there, how would you compare the last 6 months to all the years prior to Equinety since you've been using the product?
Yeah, I think that mentally and physically, they handle the stress better. I think that it's a great support to them out on the road and in their training. Physically, they've never looked better. I know I talked to you a little bit about my daughter's horse. He's a real dark bay. He's dappled out like a gray horse. I mean, it's incredible to look at him. All of them, their weight and muscling is phenomenal. Their manes and tails are thicker. Their hoof health is great. And I've got one horse off the track who didn't come with great feet to begin with. So I know it's supporting that. The way I explain it to my kids is my stepson also barrel races a little bit as well. So we go through everything that the horses are eating so they understand why we're putting this in the horse's body. And when we talk about Equinety, we talk about the amino acids and the function that has. But the way I explain it to them is this is a way for us to support the whole horse. And that's truly how I look at it. We start at the cellular level, and I feel like they just radiate. They glow from the inside out. And I can tell they feel so good and they look so good. I'll feed it. I mean, I'll always feed it. I can't imagine taking it out.
Sure. And of course, you had, or Danielle Bowser had reached out to you, when you were going through those challenges. We actually have Danielle and Kelly on one of the podcasts. And of course, with them being Kelly more in the futurity side of things. But, one of the things that he was talking about was in the younger horses and how it just helps the focus so much. And you even spoke about this, taking your young horse into a brand new place with banners and all this stuff. And he was just like, okay, let's run.
Yeah, he has handled this year so well. We just put him on the trailer. I think May was our first show due to COVID. So we just started hauling him. This last weekend we showed, it was a Coliseum type show. Banners, they had banners. It was one long string of banners. It went all the way around the entire pen. I mean, it's busy. The warm-up area is not real big, so you've got a lot of horses working in one area. It was his first time to run down a chute, not coming circling around the catch pen.
Right.
The chute had banners all the way around. So, you're coming into that barrel blind. He works hard. He went in, and I didn't have an issue with him, looking around at anything. He just went into work.
That's awesome. Wow. Well, I tell you what, it's. I think this will be a great benefit for those that are in the performance horse world, and those who are not. Make sure you check out all the testimonials that we have all over our Facebook page, as well as our website, all these other podcasts, because there's a plethora of things from one end of the spectrum to the next. And of course, we always recommend, make sure you consult with your vet before making changes and doing things. One of the great things with this product is there's not any negative side effects with any medications because it's amino acids. They're the building blocks of protein. So kind of what we're finding through the years, it doesn't matter what the age of the horse is, what kind of diet they're on. They could be getting the creme de la creme, and people that add this product to their diet, they see results. And, the great thing is it starts working in 24 hours, and the vast majority of people do notice changes in 30 days or less. So it's pretty amazing stuff. So, well, Jessica, I really appreciate you taking the time to share your stories here on the Equinety Podcast. It's I think it'll be a great benefit to those tuning in. Is there anything else you'd like to say before we sign off? Maybe somebody that might be on the fence a little bit and saying, well, this stuff's a little too good to be true. Anything that you would like to say to them that you maybe haven't already said? Yeah,
I would say I was that person. Just do it. Just buy it and try it. I don't think you'll go back either. We're so grateful that we tried it. It's a simple thing to add, and the results are just phenomenal. It's worth every penny we spend on it. That's great. Awesome. Well, Jessica Lash out of Indiana, thank you so much for taking the time to share your story here on the Equinety Podcast. Thank you so much for having me. It's been great.
That's all for this episode of the Equinety Podcast. For more information on purchasing Equinety, be sure to visit our website at teamequinety.com, where you'll also find product information as well as more testimonials on how others have seen amazing results by implementing Equinety into their horse's supplement regime. We'll have more stories on how Equinety is helping horses worldwide right here on a future episode of the Equinety Podcast.